McAvoy poked fun at The Bachelor's Colton Underwood on this week's Saturday Night Live, in a show called Virgin Hunk. The 39-year-old Scot played Dalton from Turd River, Colorado, who says there are a few reasons he could be a virgin, so just pick one and go with that. He adds that he's ready to find love with one of these randos before he begins a seemingly endless cycle of dates with his bachelorettes. The first date is Cecily Strong, who describes herself as single .31, so almost dead, and her ex-boyfriend is Dirty John, but he dumped her because she's too clinchy. After Dalton claims to have such a connection with her, he's stolen by another woman, Kate McKinnon, with Dalton saying he had fun skydiving with Post Malone on their date. She begins to describe how her brothers in Rest Area, Missouri all have a crush on her when Jessica C. Heidi Gardner steals him, but she doesn't know what to say because she's never been herself. When Dalton sees her sash that seems to say she's Miss VA, Virginia, she reveals the sash says vagina instead, when he's stolen by another woman, Aidy Bryant, who dry-humped him at medieval times before revealing she's a content creator, whose content is porn. Hennessy returns, and when he asks what she does, she says mostly PR, meaning Puerto Ricans, before confessing that she grew up with another contestant and she's a toxic lying bitch with no teeth, mirroring the real Bachelor drama this season. The next Bachelorette, Melissa Valassiner, says he can probably tell because she's the only brunette, but her family fled from Cuba, but she's still anti-immigration. He's stolen yet again by another Bachelorette, Egon Wadim, who asks if he remembers her name, and he replies, "You know I don't, but if I guess you'll guess I'm racist." She says it's a Deku, but he frustratingly says, "Well, never gonna say that," before she changes it to Katie, but she says since she's black and has short hair, she just wants to say goodbye, and leaves. Bryant returns, more drunk, to discuss the saddest thing about her, which was either her awkward phase or when her mom combusted before McKinnon returns with a peach because she's from Georgia and a banana because of her knack for fellatio. Dalton confesses that he's not saving himself for marriage, but he's saving himself until the producers say so, when McKinnon confesses she's a virgin, which leads him to ask what's wrong with her before escorting her away as the sketch ends. The episode marked McAvoy's made his hosting debut on NBC's Saturday Night Live, where he didn't even mention his #1 box office hit Glass. Instead, he brought back his iconic character Mr. Tumnus from the 2005 adaptation The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Tumnus was McAvoy's breakout role 14 years ago, with the actor paying homage to the character in a peculiar way. She said that she runs an Etsy shop that sells vaginal teas, but before the conversation continues, there's another knock at the door. Christine's friends Tova, Aidy Bryant, and Rebecca's, Kate McKinnon. He says that hundreds visit him every year, because he's become a sex symbol to a certain kind of woman, which he describes as a lazy Hermione. They all want to get it on, with Rebecca saying she wants to put her thumbness up her bumness, and they explain that they went on a last trip to England before they freeze their eggs. Sadly for this trio of ladies, Tumnus reveals he's spoken for by Edmund Alex Moffat, who asks if they want to stay for dinner. They politely decline and set off on their next journey, to find Neville Longbottom from Harry Potter as the sketch comes to an end. After a cold open that brought SNL icon Steve Martin back to Studio Weight H as Roger Stone, James McAvoy opened the show with a monologue where he was wearing a traditional Scottish kilt. He went on about how kilts are very masculine in Scotland and he wears one because his calves are shredded, which he proves by lifting his leg. The 39-year-old actor also joked about how he's mistaken for Ewan McGregor, the other Scottish actor. He said that it's easy to tell the difference, because my eyes are blue, and he's got more money than me. The Glass star went on to break down some Scottish history, before getting a laugh for screwing up the monologue while telling everyone in Scotland to go to bed because it's 6 in the morning. The night's second sketch was a parody of the numerous movies about a white teacher trying to save a gifted black student, with a fun twist. The sketch begins with McAvoy as the teacher, Mr. H, who comes into the hood to find his student Marcus, Chris Red, with Marcus telling him he's seen too many movies. Marcus starts running down the tropes of these movies, that he's going to tell him he's got potential and he's smart, but he humorously stops short of describing him as a genius. He explores another well-worn trope, bringing Marcus SAT results, an 880, which Marcus thinks is out of 900, before he's brought down a peg by Craig, Pete Davidson, in one of his rare appearances of the episode. Craig says he knows the score is really out of 1600 and an 880 is kinda bad. Before one of their customers, Kyle Mooney, says he got a 1260 and he's waiting for his change, chiding him for using a calculator for a simple subtraction. Mr. H then reveals why he's really there, to score some shrooms for a bachelor party, before Marcus asks what the school guidance counselor said about his essay, which he revealed was a little all over the place as the sketch ended. The next sketch featured Mikey Day as an employee for Kylie Jenner's brand, who was forced to try and land their plane when their pilot died. Unfortunately, he has to get instructions from an air traffic controller, McAvoy, with an incredibly thick Scottish accent that he and no one else can understand. As he tries to comprehend the thick Scottish brogue, it becomes humorously clear what some English words sound like with a Scottish accent. When they begin to leave Scottish airspace, they hand him off to a Welsh air traffic controller, Beck Bennett, whose accent is even thicker, as they just decide to aim for water. After Meek Mill performed Going Bad with Fabulous, Colin Jost and Michael Che's Weekend Update began, which was heavily focused on the shutdown ending and the arrest of Roger Stone, but also featured Chris Red doing a hilarious rendition of Soulja Boy, who contemplates running for president, among other things. Jost and Che also discussed a strange Vatican praying app, the Oklahoma University Blackfist scandal, the company that sells Valentine's Day sweetheart candy going out of business, and Cecily Strong portraying a bizarre woman named Kathy Ann. The back half of the show featured a sketch involving a Super Bowl party hosted by a couple, McAvoy and Strong, whose boys, Bennett and Day, are particularly rambunctious. As bizarre as their behavior is, McAvoy's method of punishment is even stranger, as he sprays them with a hose in the middle of the living room, then blasts them with a leaf blower. There was also a sketch about a Charmin focus group, featuring some bizarre characters, with one, Mooney, trying to figure out how the Bears were animatied, another, McAvoy, who keeps pitching commercial ideas to the leader, Bryant, a social justice warrior, McKinnon, and a learned man into strange erotica, Kenan Thompson. McAvoy showcased a number of different accents throughout the show, unveiling a Philly accent, complete with Philadelphia Eagles shirt, as he pitches sexually charged ads for the Bears, while McKinnon is ashamed the Bears are all white. The sketch comes to an end with Bryant's character shutting the session down, as McAvoy asks when they get their free Charmin, because he needed it yesterday. There was also 2 music videotape segments that aired during the episode. The first featured Leslie Jones, who didn't appear in any of the live segments, rapping about her home on the Upper East Side. The second featuring a crew of seemingly hardcore rappers, including the second and last appearance of Pete Davidson, who rapped about loving their dogs and bunnies. The final sketch seemed to be the only one that got the normally stone-faced McAvoy to crack, playing one half of a couple with Gardner, who had just returned from a trip to New Orleans. While they colorfully try to explain their trip, it's clear they have no idea what they're talking about, since one of their friends, Kenan Thompson, is actually from New Orleans and calls them out. It was also announced during this week's episode that the next new episode will be February 9th, with Halsey doing double duty as host and musical guest. There will be no new episode next week, February 2nd, with last month's Jason Momoa/Mumford and